Hello and welcome to the Riverfront Reds Show, where we will decide in the next hour, are the Reds dead yet? Skylar, Wuebker, I believe that was the thumbnail on your Late Night Reds the other night. I'm welcoming you in here in tongue-in-cheek a little bit. I'm going to give you a hard time because technically speaking, they are definitely not dead.
Definitely not. As soon as you put out bad vibes, like they're dead, they're done, they storm back. I mean, they were 6 games out when we did Late Night Reds now. And as of this recording, they are a game and a half back.
Well, the crazy thing is last night I asked my son, I said, don't you think we can win this game? It was still nothing in like the 6th or 7th. And he's like, oh, no, Dad, I'm down on the Reds. He said, if I show any hope, they're not going to do well. So he said, he goes, no, they're done, Dad. They're done. And then, of course, Ellie came through and like we've hoped he could. And certainly that was the way to go. Now, going back to what you kind of recapped, they took 2 or 3 from the Mets, obviously, last weekend. And, in true fashion on Monday, they drop a game. So it's like, come on, guys. So then they went on Tuesday. Now, the problem, Skylar, as I see it, especially the Giants, they've allowed, the Reds having us, well, the Mets too, technically, they've allowed too many other teams to come in. You know what I mean? Like, I liked it better when it was just the Reds and Mets.
I agree. Thankfully, the Reds have the tiebreakers against both those teams.
They do. And they even have it over the Padres. So if the Padres go in a complete swoon and they end up tied, then that's great. Now, entering Tuesday, I found this interesting, and certainly not everybody has the same, algorithm, but the Reds had a 3.8% chance to make the playoffs entering Tuesday after they lost Monday. I guess now I'd say you asked the question even then. So you're saying there's a chance, right? So we'll have a question later about meaningful September baseball, which is at times all we've asked for here at the Riverfront. But certainly you'd rather it be even more than just quote unquote meaningful. Like, hey, you ran a good race, but it's over now. Like we'd rather it not be over at the end of the regular season. Let's talk a little bit about the schedule. Now, the funny thing is they waited a little longer this year, but the 2026 schedule came out recently, and immediately people jump to September and say, oh my goodness, they have to play 2 series each against the Dodgers and Brewers in September next year. That already had people all aflutter and worried about it. But, for me right now, it's the multiple West Coast trips in late August and September. That's a little concerning, although they've handled their business. They took 2 of 3 from San Diego. Your thoughts on having to go out west twice there in the last 6 weeks or so this season?
I mean, isn't it kind of like what we just got done doing now? Or
no, that's what I'm talking about.
Progress on.
I'm talking about now. Yeah. Okay. What they're doing right now.
Yeah. It's definitely intense for sure. I hate having to do those long trips and then be there for 2 series, come home for a series, go back out for 2 series.
Yeah.
It's definitely draining for sure. I do think it helps that the competition probably isn't as strong as the Brewers and Dodgers, who are the top 2 teams in MLB. And we'll see if that trend continues next season, obviously. But look, if you're in a situation like you are right now, where you're right at the end, trying to make that final push, to sneak on in, it makes it a lot harder next year. You got to be sure to start fast and finish with enough cushion at the end of the next year.
And that's kind of what I was going to say. These are examples like the West Coast swings, or next year having to play the Brewers and Dodgers so much in September. That's examples why you have to win games like last Friday against the Mets. Mm-hmm. Or what did they lose 3 straight games like in April and May, 1-0? Like you just cannot do that. And I know they didn't get swept until very late in the year. I know they haven't had extended streaks, but it's also, you never know what might happen. Nick Lodolo ends up with an illness, which actually went through the entire clubhouse, it seems like. You don't know when something's going to happen. And that's why I don't care if it's the first game of the season and you bring Ian Jabot in instead of some of those other guys, or it's September. You have to win those games that you can win. I understand if it's 10-0 in the ninth inning, maybe that's probably a little out of reach, but boy, win those games that you are in position to win. You have the bases loaded with nobody out. You had a bases loaded, like no bases loaded, nobody out. You only need a run to tie. All they needed was a ground ball double play, and you likely score a run.
Yep.
It's just stuff like that. A fly ball obviously ties it too. But that's what they did on Wednesday night, Skylar. They come back and win that game that they just weren't able to win maybe the week before against the Mets or earlier in the season.
Yeah, I saw some of I think maybe it was Bobby Nightingale or somebody was put something out there on X that like Francona is working his magic. He's got these guys moving in the right direction right at the end of the season as the Mets fall, like just kind of building up the storylines about it. And you're like, damn, you're giving me hope.
Yeah, that's giving hope, but at the same time, the Terry Francona magic, I saw many people tweet about it. Like the record's not that great, like in the last 15 games, last 10 games. It's like, maybe you'd be in a little better position if you'd taken care of business a little more. It's tough. Let's look at this remaining schedule. They go to Sacramento. They're going to play the Athletics in a minor league stadium. I don't know what effect that has. I know a lot of runs were scored there early in the season. I haven't paid much attention to the Sacramento Athletics. I know that just says Athletics on the schedule. They don't even call themselves Sacramento. There'll be a trip to St. Louis, and then they get that homestand with the Cubs and Pirates before rounding things out against the Brewers. Boy, wouldn't you like to see the Brewers just clinch some sort of like first seed or whatever it is they can clinch, the most they could clinch by the time the Reds play the Brewers. That would be ideal.
It would be ideal. And if they do clinch and get the first seed, I'm pretty sure they get I forget how the playoff brackets work this year, but don't they either get the last wild card team or a bye in the first round?
No, I think with three divisions, there's three divisions and there's three wild cards, so you don't get a bye. I don't think there's any buys.
So if they got that first place, no, there is a bye.
Is there?
So it's the wild card. So as of right now, it's the Dodgers and Mets would play in the first round.
Okay. What's the rest of it look like? Roll that out.
Dodgers, Mets in the first round, Padres, Cubs in the first round, Phillies and Milwaukee would play the winners of whatever those brackets.
Okay, so there's two buys. Yeah. So there are even number of teams, but there's double buy. One of the things, though, about this upcoming schedule, Kyle Tucker's right now on the injured list for the Cubs. And he's going to be eligible to come back right around the time the Reds play them. That's going to be interesting because if he's not really up to par, he's been kind of a catalyst for that franchise this year. So that adds a little intrigue to it as well. Another piece of intrigue for Reds fans is the Reds already today made the announcement. They sometimes wait until the day of the game to make these moves, but they've already activated Chase Burns and Graham Ashcraft from the injured list. My goodness, the bullpen all of a sudden just looks much better, doesn't it?
It looks like a bunch of guys that needed a few extra arms in there to take some weight off of them because we've talked about it on Late Night Reds, but boy, some of those people, you can't expect a season to finish great when you have Tony Santillan making 80 appearances or Emilio Pagan making 80 appearances or Scott Barlow making 80 appearances.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those guys needed a Graham Ashcraft to come back, a Chase Burns to be in the bullpen to stretch them out a little bit, give them a little more breathing room, I would say.
Full disclosure, we come out with this show around midnight into Friday morning every week. This string of 5 consecutive Thursdays off has allowed us to say, hey, if such and such can't do the show, Bill Lack last week couldn't do it Thursday, but he could do it Wednesday. I've been able to record maybe a few Wednesday nights, and then we just still release it on Friday. And you and I were going to do that. And my goodness, what a difference it makes. Now, a lot of times the Wednesday day game takes place, so we have the full results. That was not going to be the case last night, and we might have even recorded the entire show before the Reds would have won that game. So you and I are both glad we waited an extra day. But what a difference even the show looks like. Like I was ready to talk to you a little bit about football season starting, and maybe I don't have both eyes on the Reds anymore, even though we host a show on the Riverfront, each of us do. I was ready to talk to you about this late night deal where they're going out west. I do want to thank John Sadek. The other night, he got so excited on the Tyler Stevenson home run that I had drifted off, and I actually had an AirPod in my ear, and he was so excited he woke me up, and I woke up enough and was lucid enough to see the ball go over the fence and realize what he was saying, that Tyler Stevenson has hit this home run. That was incredible. But my goodness, you combine a lot of things. We're in the, school has started. We're in this different routine now. Those late night games, especially at the Reds, were almost out of it. That just gets tougher and tougher to really lock in.
It really does. Especially, when you're fading in the standings, you're like, all right, this season's done. It's over with. And by the way, what a great way to be woken up, right? A game winning or go ahead home run. That's amazing. It is tougher, but it'll be so sweet whenever the Reds make the playoffs and then we're watching playoff baseball, 8 o'clock at night, right around 8, 9, whatever the time schedule turns out to be, prime time channel. That's going to be so fun to watch.
Run at some point, don't even tell me. I don't care what time they play. If I can watch it and it's on, we're going to be watching if it's a playoff game. And honestly, it's cliche to say, but these next few weeks, it's basically going to be every game's a playoff game. I mean, that's just how it's going to feel. And, your scoreboard watching. I was at my son's soccer program. The varsity had senior night tonight, so that's where we were before we came to tape the show. And we're in the parking lot, not even to the car, and he's got his phone dialed up. Hey, the Mets are losing, which right now as we record, the Reds are now a game and a half out, folks. What a time to be alive, as Chad Dotson used to say almost weekly. What a time to be alive as the Cincinnati Reds, your Cincinnati Reds, Skylar, are on the cusp of possibly doing something. Now, it's not 3.8% anymore, I wouldn't think, but it's not
16%
really
right now.
16. So it's still not super high. The likelihood is they don't make it. But when in the past 4 or 5 years have they had like reinforcements for pitching, right? At this time of year, like we're usually talking about, hey, what guy are they starting, back in 2023 when they could have made the playoffs possibly, and they just ran out of bullets, so to speak. And now you think about it, and they can show up strong, especially if Brady Singer and Andrew Abbott and all these guys. Hunter Green is not fatigued at all. He's ready to rock. I mean, that's so huge. And I keep reading, and we've said it before. Hey, what about the playoffs? Like, what rotation? What does it look like? How good is that? It's very good. But let's not even talk about that yet. What are your thoughts on this rotation as it stands? It's pretty good right now. I mean, Lodolo's missed a little time, so he's not probably as fatigued as he would be. Hunter's certainly not fatigued. He's throwing great. This is really looking good.
Yeah, this is the rotation that we've dreamt of. And when we had Lodolo come up and Green come up, and then you have Abbott, who's kind of a surprise guy. Like nobody was talking about Abbott in the minor leagues until he got here. And I just want to say, like, this is why you trade Jonathan India for Brady Singer, because he has made every start. He has never missed time. He has been on from opening day to now. And that's why you get a Brady Singer, is to have some sort of consistency in your rotation as guys, blisters or, shoulder issue, whatever it is, as guys kind of in and out. Brady Singer was there every start.
Well, yeah, he and Nick Martinez. Now, Martinez shifted into different roles at different times, but he and Nick Martinez are never going to be confused with the lights out stuff of a Hunter Green or the crazy slider and things like that Nick Lodolo possesses from the left side. But you're right. I mean, they make every starter. They post every time they're needed because Martinez comes out of the pin sometimes. And it's just that continuity is like what you need. And then all of a sudden, hey, by the way, knock on wood, Hunter Green is really healthy now.
And looking incredible.
It's just looking really good. I wouldn't want to face that rotation at this point. And then again, Tony Santillan's come up huge. You've also got Pagan, he's faltered a little bit here or there, but he's still done a good job. And now, hey, how would you like to see Chase Burns in the 7th inning?
I would love it. And I would love it against the Dodgers in the playoffs. Like, talk about pressure for a rookie.
Well, just throw strikes, man, especially if you're coming out of the pen at that point. I mean, he doesn't have – we talked weeks ago, you and I, about I don't think you could put Brady Singer and have him be a significant role in the bullpen because he's just pitched so many years out of the rotation, and that's been his job. But, Burns is just like, hey, put me in. I'll do whatever I need to do. What is he, 24 years old or whatever he is? So it's like,
he's
okay,
right now.
Let's get it done, man. And I really – part of me thinks, I don't know how injured he was, but part of me thinks the time off has really been – to allow him to kind of recalibrate a little bit and, come give him whatever the Reds need from him going the rest of the way. It's going to be really interesting to watch here the rest of the way. Any thoughts overall on the offense right now? Where are you with that?
It still seems like these guys are a little fatigued and sputtering, but I think especially in that Padres series, you're seeing these guys know how much these at-bats matter right now, as opposed to years before where September at-bats really didn't matter for the Reds. These at-bats matter because it could be the difference between not getting in and getting in. So I think these guys are energized. I like the consistency. We're seeing a lot more pieces. Like we're seeing TJ Friedl come back around. We're seeing Ellie come back around. So we're starting to get back to that rhythm that we saw kind of in mid-July.
I think I might have lost you, Skylar. Skylar has frozen. Yeah, even like Matt McClain has hit the ball harder and done a good job. And you've seen guys. I wish Andujar was healthier at this point. I really do. I wish Andujar could make a little bit more of an impact. But Marte's still swinging a good bat at times, and certainly Sal Stewart getting the call up, hitting that first home run the other day. That was really good. I lost you there for a second, Skylar.
This laptop, it just turns off the Wi-Fi randomly, and I just went talking for 10 minutes there, or however long.
I said I just like you froze on my screen here, and I was like, okay, I picked you up though. You talked a little bit about McClain. He's looked better. Marte still looks pretty good. The one I'd like to, I wish they could get a healthier Andujar. He was such a difference maker right when he got there, and he's so banged up that the most he can really give them is a pinch hit appearance here or there. He got a big hit, Wednesday night, Wednesday night. But he can't play the field at all, and he's down to really. I don't even know if he can play a full game. As soon as he got that blue pit on Wednesday night, they pinch ran for him immediately.
Yeah, you hope that he can kind of get it back together because boy, he was looking like the best hitter on this team when he first got here, and he would love to play in this next series against the team that traded him. We'll see if that happens, but where are you on the try to push through it right now to get in versus, hey, we're going to need you if we do get in, we're going to really need you. So kind of like, don't overexert yourself.
Well, I guess it's a quad. So here we are again. I mean, I brought up the Joey Votto quad injury that required surgery back in 2012. But he was never the same the rest of that season.
Yeah.
I don't think Ellie's been the same as what he could be. If Ellie doesn't continue to turn himself around here in the next few weeks, we're going to hear a lot this offseason about the tailspin he went on the last 7-8 weeks of the season. And it's a real shame because I'm actually impressed he's been able to do what he's been able to do with this injury. And I'm not here to argue that he should probably take a day off here or there. He probably should have at this point. That's an easy argument, right? But for him to do what he's done on basically one leg this whole year, and his power is clearly gone, but he still finds a way to make a difference. But I guess the point is the quad isn't going to just heal over a 10-day period. It doesn't sound like.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they could make Andujar better if they put him on the injured list. I mean, you could retroactive it to, I guess, today, September 11th, and then if you just took 10 days, you let him come back in 10 days. But it doesn't seem like it seems like that's more of an off-season recovery to me, and that's what it feels like with both Ellie and Andujar, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. It probably is an off season to really, really get right. But at this point, like, you can't afford to not have Ellie in the lineup. You can't afford Ellie at
Right.
all because you're in this hunt. So I think we're also kind of seeing retroactively like what an off day in June or July
Mhm.
mean in September when you're getting this far.
Well, and you see like Andujar's just not doing that much. I don't know what he's doing to rehab or to try to get it better, but he's not doing that much on the field in the games. So like I mean, I don't even know what a rest looks like for a guy that's only either starting once or twice a week or only pinch hitting once every 2 or 3 games, because I hadn't seen him in a few games. It's like, oh, come on, let's see what he can do. And it was like a duck snort, but it landed and it did exactly what they needed it to. So. All right. You said it's 16% chance. Before we go to viewer mail, what do you think the chance is they make it? Like, not looking at these analytics. What are your thoughts on their actual chance?
I think it's probably up to, I would say, about 30%. Just because
Yeah.
if you look at the next couple of series for the Mets, they just finished getting a 4-game sweep of the Phillies. They have 3 games against Texas, who's also, I think, a game out right now, fighting to get into that wild card spot. And then they have 3 games against San Diego. So they've got their own little gauntlet, and then they also face the Cubs right after the Reds face the Cubs. Where
Okay.
if you flip the card over, the Reds have the Athletics, the Pirates, the Cardinals, and the Cubs, who they've already won the wild card against or won the tiebreaker against the Cubs this year, I think. So the Reds have I would say, a favorable finish. I think it might come down to that Milwaukee Brewers series at the end, and you're hoping Milwaukee's just resting everybody.
I was a college student in 1999 when the last series was in Milwaukee. A little different. Milwaukee had no chance to make the playoffs themselves, and they wanted to play spoiler, and they sure did. They sent the Reds back to Cincinnati to play that 1-game playoff and broke all our hearts. So if the Reds took 2 or 3 that weekend, they're in the playoffs, and they took 1, which was the late Sunday night game. So after the rain delay. So yeah, this is bringing up bad recent memories of not being able to beat the Brewers, but then also the memories of 25 years ago. So 26 years ago.
Yeah, and
It's just crazy.
to the people that say that the NL Central is not as strong or whatever it may be, if they have the Brewers, the Cubs, and the Reds make the playoffs, that's 3 of their 5 teams made the playoffs. And I'm pretty
So
sure last year was the same situation.
yeah, here's something funny. All off season, and then you get all the way up to opening day, right? And I'm going to use this example here in a minute. I'll tell you, but everybody who talks about baseball for a living, I mean, we're talking Buster Olney, we're talking Jeff Passan, we're talking Tim Kirchin, we're talking. Well, everybody had both the East and the West fighting out for all the playoff positions that weren't the NL Central title.
Mm-hmm.
And that was going to be, well, you got to win the Central to make the playoffs. If what you said happens, it just proves like we just talk too much before the season starts. It's the same thing with college football, NFL too, but college football. I took a bike ride today and I pulled up an old podcast from just a week or 2 ago. It was actually recorded like 2 days before the Ohio State-Texas game. And the things that were being said by reputable people, like, I'm talking, David Pollock and Ryan Russillo, and these guys are talking. And the things that are being said about, for instance, Arch Manning being able to throw the ball down the field well. Like, Arch Manning, to this point, as I've watched him play, he has a clunky delivery, and he hasn't been able to throw the ball down the field well. So that's just one example, but like oh, they'll beat the Buckeyes, and like listing off all these players that were better than certain high state players. It's like we don't know anything and we just talk too much. All of us do, but it's crazy. It's insane. And I know 1 or 2 games is a small sample size when you're talking about football, but it's like you learn so much in week 1 and week 2 in football that it's like
Yeah.
you can start to really make some opinions really form. Now the Bengals are not going to play well in week 1. They luckily won. That was good. But no, it's funny. You're right. Like nobody would have guessed it because nobody was saying it. And I remember all those guys. Everybody had the Padres, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, the Mets, the Phillies, the Braves,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, they had those 6 teams vying for the other 5 playoff spots that weren't going to belong to one from the Central. And here you
Yeah,
are.
and it just goes to show that most national broadcasts, they're not watching NL Central games. They're probably not watching games. They're watching
Yeah,
the marquee teams.
it's flyover
Um,
country for a reason.
yeah, pretty much.
All right, well, let's go to viewer mail. The cool thing with viewer mail is I actually sent out the bat signal twice because we didn't end up recording last night. So we got a few more submissions today, which is Thursday, as we record this on September 11th. All right, so my thought on the viewer mail at the time, even before they won on Wednesday night, was, hey, they're not dead yet. Send in some viewer mail questions. James Urban, he's our leadoff hitter tonight. He says, so is this technically meaningful September baseball or not yet? Listen, James, you sent that in before they won Wednesday night, and a whole lot of stuff has changed in just 36 hours since you sent that in. This is meaningful September baseball, Skylar. This is great.
Absolutely. This is the best, right? Like this is what we've been wanting. Obviously, it was kind of ugly getting here, and you hope you're in, I would say, the Mets seat versus the Red seat, the outside looking in. But yeah, this is great where every game counts, every
Yeah,
series counts.
absolutely. All right. So Brandon Kamek, and I've had 2 days to think about this, and I can't come up with the right lyrics, but he says in 1967, Marvin Gaye is recording Ain't No Mountain High Enough, but Nick Kroll is the songwriter. Considering his peaks and valleys comment, how would the lyrics be altered? I was thinking about something like every time he's interviewed, I remember he was interviewed by MLB Network Radio right after the trade deadline. And he's like, no, we're pretty good. We're doing great. Like he he tries to convince everybody, and I think including himself, that they're actually a good team. Like even when they're not playing that well, Skylar, I don't he's right about the peaks and valleys. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no like what median flat enough. Just like straight across. I don't know. Did you come up with anything?
I was thinking, I was trying to find something around like we like the guys we have because that's like that
Yes, that's
marquee
it.
Nick Kroll. But I couldn't think of anything as it relates to the Marvin Gaye song. But like, yeah, the keywords are always going to be like we like the guys we have. We believe we have a chance.
Mhm.
We're but there's some flexibility. Like just these constant crawlisms.
Yeah, we like the guys we have. That is very. And then this year, like the basically revolving door of, well, we're going to move this guy over here. We're going to put this guy over here. We're gonna, like we felt like we could add by moving. Like they. I mean, and look, we've lauded the moves. If Andujar had stayed healthy, I think this would look even better than it does. But it still looks pretty good. The moves they made were fine. Um, I guess that's where I do relate it to the Bengals, is because like you had so many holes you needed to fill that even though you did make 3 or 4 good moves, it's probably not quite enough to fill what you had. So we'll just see
Yeah.
on both accounts, the Bengals defense and the Reds overall. All right. Rex Scott says anything can happen with the number of games we have left and being only 3 games out. Hey, 1.5 now, Rex. This was obviously before the game on Wednesday. Please comment on how each of the following ideas might help the Reds. All right, number 1, using Burns in the bullpen after he's activated. Well, we've mentioned that. I think that's what they're going to do. He's not going back in the rotation because of his innings. So my thought is at least seventh inning. But again, some of these games, I mean, can you imagine like Nick Martinez and Burns being available? They're both starters. They're both, if Zach Littell's a little wobbly in the second or third inning, well, you could maybe stretch that game out a little more with those guys that are converted starters into the bullpen.
Yeah, and hey, that's what playoff rotations basically are. You go with kind of a 3-man rotation and
Exactly.
short innings, and you hope you get longer guys to get you through the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. And boy, I would love having Nick Martinez and Chase Burns be the 4, 5, 6, 7 guys versus
Sam Moll.
Chase Petty, Sam Moll.
Yeah,
we can go on that, but.
All right, he's got 3 of these. So that was the first one. Second is bringing Hines up from Louisville. Listen, actually, my son and I were talking about Hines and Aquino today, and I was like, that's why, like, people get the book on you, because he was even talking about like sophomore slump type idea and things like that. But I said basically people get the book on you, and now they're not going to throw you that fastball anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Aquino hit 17 home runs in August when he came up in 19. Hines, not quite that prolific, but very good. He was a 2020 guy in Louisville. Did you realize that? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did know that.
So I think he's a 4A player, Skylar. I don't think I don't think he's a big leaguer. And I don't really see him helping this team ever again.
Not
really.
now. Like we just said, every at bat matters. Every game matters. And I don't think you're putting that weight or that severity into a 4A Reese Hines, who can hit the ball for miles. But like you said, other teams have scouting departments. They get the book on you. He can't hit the low and away, or he chases the high out of the zone fastball, which are both his weaknesses.
All right, number 3 says starting Stewart more often and using a number of positions to do so. I think he made 1 start at third so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's your first baseman. And I remember Tito obviously said, he's been called out on Twitter about this, where he said, well, we're not bringing him up not to play him. And then, of course, he'll sit 2 games in a row or 3 out of 4. I don't know. I think he's your first baseman, maybe a DH here or there. They're not going to put him at second base, I don't think, not for a whole game, maybe for an inning or 2. They're not going to want him at third any more than they have to.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a first baseman / DH right now. And maybe he's a left fielder next year. I don't know. We'll see.
Could be. I mean, I think that's the best thing about him, is that he is flexible. Like, if you need him to play second base, he can go out there and do that. But a lot of first base, a lot of DH, pinch run, come in for whoever, and then stay in the game with whatever defensive switch you make. But I think he definitely plays a role on this team, and that's why they added him to the 40-man before the September call-up, so that he can be eligible for a playoff baseball roster spot.
Tim Daniel and Tim, you're using this same, what are they, a GIF? What are they called?
I think this was just an image.
He's got Jennifer Melfi of Sopranos psychiatric care fame. It says, last week you mentioned it's over, but today you tell me we're so back. What changed? Well, Tim, the Mets don't want to win the wild card despite having a $290 million payroll, and they continue to keep the door open. So that's basically it. Because while the Reds have taken 2 out of 3 in both of their last 2 series, they were pretty deep in a hole going into that Mets series. They were 6 games out just a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so and they cut that to 4. And then, of course, they lose the Monday night game. So, but it's mostly the Mets. I mean, the Reds are obviously not going off into the sunset. They're still above 500 right there, barely. but it's the Mets. They don't want to claim this thing. And you and I, Skylar, you and I talked back in April about the Mets pitching. I
Hmm.
don't think it's good enough, and that's a
It's
lot of
clearly
money to
not good
spend.
enough.
Well, no, so no, I think
Yeah.
the Mets are what's changed, except for the Mets are basically who they've been. So pretty
Yeah, I mean
cool.
the Mets are definitely it because when you're 6 games back, but you drop 2 to the Reds and then drop 4 to Philly, that's where you just let the Reds back into the conversation, especially as, like I said, they start a series tomorrow against Texas, who I think they are going against DeGrom,
Hmm.
and DeGrom's going to want to pitch lights out against you. Then you got San Diego right after that, who's you're kind of they're not fully locked in either. So I think yeah, the Mets continuing to have their peaks and valleys of the season
Well,
definitely are what's keeping the hope alive.
their whole mantra going into the Red Series was "Don't get swept," and the Reds
They
certainly
didn't.
allowed that not to happen. But if that's the if that's the little thing you're trying to leap over, and it's basically just the height of a curb off the street, that's not being very confident going into that night. They're still kind of limping. So Joey Goditza, our good friend from the North Country, he says, "So I threw in the towel and have had zero interest in watching the Reds for some time now, but they do this again. Now, honestly, they've done this in some form or another about 10 times this season. That's why I called it a roller coaster back in even May. All right. So they do this again, inch closer and pull me back in. Not totally, might I add, but sort of. Why do they do this to us? Either get hot or tank. This is hanging on by a thread, is the most difficult spot to be in as a fan, but they're right there again. Oh boy. That's right, Joey. That's why we're fans. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, yes, you'd like to, like you were saying, this is what we want. Yeah, you want to have meaningful baseball in September. What I want is to be like 2012 or 2010, where you kind of run away from everybody with 2 or 3 weeks left to go.
Yeah.
That's what I want, but that's not happening obviously this year, and it doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. So here we are, and it could be worse. You know?
We've lived through much worse. Remember
Yeah,
100 loss season 3 years ago? Like we've had much worse.
much worse. Could be the Rockies, could be the White Sox. We are not right now, so that's good. All right, last viewer mail of the week, and then we will go to bed with visions of defeat sweeping athletics like we did in 1990 in our heads. That's what we're going to go to bed with Thursday into Friday. All right, Brian Bowdy, you are the 9-hole hitter today, but you have a nice long question. So actually, he's doing a lot of work for us, Skylar.
A lot of
So this is
math.
good. He says the Reds are 74 and 72 with 16 games left. What record will they finish with? And he says, now last week I was asking, like, what do they need to go? And I thought, hey, they had 19 games left. I was like 15 and 4, I thought, because I didn't count on the Mets doing this again quite this readily. So he says now 12 and 4. So that means they would have gone 14 and 5. So I would have said 15 and 4. That 12 and 4 puts them at 14 and 5. So that takes them to 86 and 76, which ought to get them a spot, especially since they have all the tiebreakers. Good point there, Brian.
Yep.
All right, if they only go 10 and 6, so he's hopping down, even not bringing 11 wins into this. He says 10 and 6 gets them to 84 and 78, which is good enough for a wild card if, now this is key, remember this, if the Mets go 8 and 8 or worse, or the Giants go 9 and 7 or worse. So the Giants could actually go 9 and 7, and the Reds going 10 and 6 gets them in.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
That's the best.
All right, 8 and 8 leaves them barely over 500, 82 and 80, right there at the Castellini line. That's what I'm calling this. And almost certainly missing the playoffs because that's what they did a few years ago, right? They were right there.
Right
All right.
there.
Or 16-0 gets them to 90 wins in the 35th anniversary season of the 1990 World Series champs. Let's go! All right. 16-0.
I don't think 16-0.
What if it did?
That would be incredible.
Because that would actually be 18-0. Because they lost.
Yeah.
They've won their last two.
That would be
And that's
awesome.
what I kept hearing people talking about. Well, they need to have at least, if they could have a 10-game winning streak. And I'm like, well, right now they need an 8-game winning streak to make it get to 10. So, okay, let's do that.
Realistically, 10-6. I mean, because
You
you
like
have the tiebreakers and the Mets have a shaky finish to their schedule. I actually looked up the Giants' schedule. They start a series against the Dodgers, then go to Arizona, and then have another series against the Dodgers. So they have a rough road ahead of them as well.
If the Giants get in the playoffs, they've earned it because
That's true.
That's hard. I think that's harder than the Mets, what they have left. So,
Yes.
the sad thing is, and we found this out in 1999. I found it out, I think 2006 was the year that they traded those guys, or maybe it was 2005. Whatever year they traded the guys, but Felipe Lopez and Austin Kearns. Yeah. And that was the year that the Cardinals won the World Series. That was 2005 because, the Cardinals won the World Series after no, the White Sox won. So it must have been 2006. The Cardinals won the World Series with 83 wins, Skylar. And the Reds were just behind them.
I mean, it's just like not like that, but think about the 2019 Nationals. What was their record? They were right there just above 500 as well.
They dug a big hole though. Like they were so far out. Like what were they? Like 19-26 or worse.
Yeah, they were significantly out of first place.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I appreciate the work you put in on that. I'm going to go for 16-0. That's what I'm rooting for. But I would take 12-4. I think 11-5 gets them to 85 wins. Like, what do you think they need to go to make it? Like, you think it's 10? Would be the minimum?
10 feels right. I know my picture.
Yeah, you're frozen, but you're talking this time. Okay, that's good. We're halfway.
I think 10 is the minimum. Okay. I think they have the ability to do more just because, like I said, they're going against the Pirates, the Cardinals, the Athletics. Like that right there is at minimum 9 if you sweep those guys, which if you don't, then that's 6 if you just win those series. So can you take can you take 2 against the Cubs or 1 against Milwaukee? I think that gets you right there in it.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta make some noise. You've got to make some noise. You can't. I think we need to set that bar at 10-8, and we'll just stick with that, or 10-6, I should say. If they go 10-6, let's check in on it and see. Of course, it's dependent on the Mets and the Giants too, and the Diamondbacks are kind of looming. But beyond that, we shall see. Well, Skylar is frozen. I'm tired.
I'm still here. I'm trying to fix this.
No, you're here, but it's okay. We're ready to wrap things up here. It's been a long week. We've got still 3 games of West Coast baseball to watch, and then they'll head more toward the Midwest again. And so we will be right here for every step of the way. Check in. If you're a Patreon member already, check us on the Slack. You can see if you're watching on YouTube here on the bottom crawl. You go to all our social medias at Riverfront Cincy. You become a Patreon member. You can do that. And again, contact me if you do that. I should get a notice. Patreon.com/RiverfrontCincy. We can get you in the Slack channel if you become a paid Patreon member. That's basically the level I'm going to trigger it at. If you pay for Patreon and you join us, you can get on the Slack. And that's going to allow you to be in our private chat. We're talking about the Reds. We're talking about the Bengals. We talk about movies. We talk about random things. And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I was pretty proud of the group over what's happened recently in the political realm. folks were pretty even keeled about the whole thing and talked a few things out to get it off their chest, but didn't go far at all. That's not what you see at Twitter. I
Right.
use Twitter all the time, but that today and yesterday was a good example of we've become a community, and you don't agree with everything that everybody else feels, but at the same time, we can. There he is. At the same time, we can have empathy for one another and kind of be there to lean on each other. So that's one good thing about this deal we have. And if you want to become a part of that, join the Patreon. Any monetary commitment to the Patreon family, I will add you to the Slack. We'll figure out how to do that. So also, Skylar, I'm going to pass this to you. You do the best job on the SeatGeek read. Go ahead and give the spiel for the SeatGeek people.
Absolutely. So we are teamed up with SeatGeek, and if you are planning to go to any events, whether it's the Bengals game, whether it's a Reds game, to see any event anywhere, it doesn't have to just be Cincinnati, it doesn't just have to be these teams. Use our code Riverfront to get $20 off your first purchase. Especially here at the end of the playoff or end of the regular season, $20 is about a Reds ticket. So go to the game on us. Use our code Riverfront at SeatGeek to get $20 off your first purchase.
All right. Hey, he's the best in the business, folks. This has been the Riverfront Reds Show. Tell your friends all about us. Get locked in. If the Reds make a playoff run, this is going to definitely be the place to be. But we're going to be there every step of the way until the Reds are done. And then guess what? We'll be talking about them all off season too. So we're never leaving. We're like the brother-in-law you can't get rid of. So thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the Reds. Enjoy your college football team. Enjoy the Bengals, hopefully, if that's your team as well. And not you, Joey Gooditza. You're a Commanders fan. I don't, whatever. Okay. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks so much.
Go Reds.